Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being really well informed. Today, we're jumping into a whole collection of recent insights, research from Harvard Health Publishing. Think of this as your guide through all that info, pulling out the most important bits and, frankly, some surprising facts about your health. Our mission is basically to help you get why these findings matter for you right now. Okay, let's unpack this.
Absolutely. And having it come from Harvard Health, that's key, isn't it? In a world just flooded with advice, we're really focusing on the so what? How do these expert findings translate into things you can actually use day to day for your well-being? It's all about making informed choices.
Totally agree. So let's start with something that sounds, well, almost basic, but Harvard Health says it has profound power. Gratitude. We hear about it making us happier, sure, but this latest data seems to go way beyond that. You mentioned the Nurses' Health Study, huge, long-running study, and it's now suggesting gratitude might actually help people live longer.
That's right. It's quite remarkable. We knew it helped with sleep, maybe lessen depression, good for heart health, but linking it potentially to longevity, that's a big step. And the thinking behind it, well, Harvard's research suggests it could lower stress hormones, maybe boost immune function, even help social bonds, all things we know impact how long we live.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just a feeling, it's physiological. So how do you actually cultivate that if you're thinking, okay, I want some of that longevity?
Yeah, good question. Harvard Health suggests really practical things like keeping a gratitude journal, or even just taking a moment each day, maybe morning, maybe evening, to pinpoint 3 specific things you're genuinely grateful for. It sounds simple, but it trains your brain,
Yeah.
shifts your focus, and that seems to ripple through your whole system.
Training your brain. I like that. And if we connect this idea of like a proactive approach, mind and body, that leads right into what we eat, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's all connected. And diet, well, the gut microbiome is central to that conversation now. Harvard Health really emphasizes this isn't just about digestion. It's like a command center, influencing your immune system, your mood, and critically chronic inflammation.
Right. Inflammation seems to be linked to everything these days. So it's not just about avoiding bad stuff for your gut.
Precisely. It's about actively feeding the good bacteria. And they highlight specific types of prebiotic fibers. Think foods like jicama, artichokes, maybe even slightly unripe bananas. These selectively nourish the beneficial microbes.
Right.
And then fermented foods like kimchi or kefir, they actually add good microbes directly.
Prebiotic fiber. Okay, noted. More specific than just eat more fiber.
And speaking of specific dietary things, Harvard pointed to something about cooking fats that really caught my eye.
Yeah.
Butter versus plant oils.
Yes. That was a striking finding from long-term research they highlighted. Basically, higher butter consumption was linked to an increased risk of mortality, whereas using more plant-based oils like olive oil was associated with a lower risk. Wow. So swapping butter for olive oil consistently could actually mean a longer life.
The data suggests it could make a significant difference over time. It's one of those small changes with potentially big payoffs.
That really drives home how everyday choices add up, which I guess brings us to moving our bodies. Exercise.
Right. We all know it's vital, gives you energy, helps with chronic pain, generally essential. But Harvard Health is looking beyond just, counting your steps.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, I thought. They're exploring if combining your average steps with your heart rate gives a better picture, like a better predictor of long-term heart health or disease risk than just steps alone.
Exactly. It suggests the intensity and consistency of your movement, reflected in that heart rate data over time, might be much more informative. It's not just that you move, but how you moved. So for you listening, it might mean thinking less about hitting exactly 10,000 steps and more about getting your heart rate up, even in shorter bursts.
Makes sense. Quality over just quantity, maybe. Okay, so we've covered some internal factors. What about external things impacting our health? Harvard Health seems increasingly focused on environmental factors.
Yes, and unfortunately, these are becoming harder to ignore. Extreme heat is a major one. It's not just uncomfortable, it's a serious health threat, especially as you'd expect for older adults, people with existing conditions or on certain meds.
And the advice is pretty stark, isn't it? Don't wait until you feel bad.
Absolutely. Act preemptively. Stay hydrated way before you feel thirsty. Seek cool spaces. Use cool showers or cloths. Heat stroke can be really insidious.
And it's not just heat. Wildfire smoke seems to be everywhere now.
It does. And Harvard details the respiratory harm, asthma flare-ups, potential long-term lung issues. And this smoke travels, it's not just a local problem anymore. thanks to climate change patterns.
Right, and flooding, too. That brings different problems.
Yeah, different, but also serious. You've got contaminants in the floodwater, which can even become airborne as things dry out. And then there's mold. Huge issue for lung health after flooding. The message is clear. Be aware. Take precautions like improving home air filtration if you can, and act fast if you are exposed.
It really underscores that healthier planet, healthier people idea Harvard pushes. It's all linked.
It truly is.
Yeah.
And what's empowering, I think, is that they show our individual actions do add up. Eating more plant-forward meals, choosing to bike or use public transport, even just talking about these choices, it contributes. It connects our personal health to the bigger environmental picture.
And that sense of responsibility, looking out for others, connects to something else they highlighted, child safety, specifically drowning.
A sobering topic, but vital. Over 4,500 drowning deaths a year in the U.S., many preventable. Harvard strongly advocates for swimming lessons, not just learning strokes, but real water safety skills.
Like how to get back to the side, or float, or call for help.
Exactly. And for parents, they stress choosing good programs. Certified instructors, small classes, focus on safety and comfort, not just technique. It's about building lifelong safety around water.
Absolutely crucial. Okay, shifting gears slightly, Harvard also flagged something they called sneaky salmonella.
Yeah, sneaky because it's so common, over 1 million cases a year in the U.S. We think chicken or eggs, maybe, but Harvard emphasizes it's broader. Produce is a big one.
Right, washing fruits and vegetables properly.
And avoiding cross-contamination of the kitchen, using separate cutting boards, washing hands constantly, and just being aware of food recalls. It can pop up in unexpected places, usually just unpleasant, but it can be serious, even deadly for some people.
Okay, so diligence is key there. This all seems to feed into being a more active, informed participant in your own health, doesn't it?
It really does. And that leads to a critical point Harvard Health makes about something maybe unexpected: unnecessary healthcare. They cite figures suggesting maybe up to 20% of healthcare in the U.S. might be unneeded.
20%. That's huge and potentially harmful, not just wasteful.
Exactly. Avoiding unnecessary tests, treatments, even supplements can actually improve your health sometimes, besides saving time and money. It's about applying critical thinking.
So what kind of things should you question?
Well, they give examples like, say, getting an MRI for routine lower back pain that often resolves on its own. That can lead to finding incidental little things that aren't problems but trigger more tests, anxiety, maybe even risky procedures. Or taking supplements without proven benefits, which we can talk more about. The key takeaway is to ask your doctor, do I really need this test or treatment? What are the actual benefits for me versus the risks or downsides?
Being your own advocate. Got it. That's a perfect lead-in to a specific area where this comes up a lot. Prostate health.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the PSA test.
So the prostate-specific antigen test, widely used but needs careful interpretation. Harvard points out that yes, an abnormal reading can indicate prostate cancer, but PSA can be elevated for other reasons too, like just enlarged prostate or inflammation, prostatitis.
So it's not a simple yes-no cancer test.
Not at all. It's used for screening, yes, but also really importantly for active surveillance of low-risk cancers. That means closely monitoring it without immediate treatment, which is often appropriate for slow-growing types. And it's used after treatment to check for recurrence. So the context of your specific result and history is everything. It requires a conversation with your doctor.
Okay. And related to prostate health, what about supplements? Saw palmetto comes up a lot.
It does. It's incredibly popular, one of the top-selling supplements, often marketed for enlarged prostate symptoms. But here's where that critical thinking comes in. Harvard experts are pretty skeptical.
Really? Despite its popularity.
Yeah. Rigorous studies have consistently shown it's basically no better than a placebo for those symptoms. It's a classic example of marketing hype outpacing scientific evidence. Natural doesn't always mean effective.
That's a really important point about supplements in general, I think, which brings us to another one. Magnesium. Essential mineral, no doubt, but supplements.
Exactly. Harvard Health says the benefits of magnesium supplements are largely oversold. Most people get plenty from their diet: leafy greens, nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains.
So unless you have a documented deficiency or maybe specific medical reasons,
You probably don't need a supplement. Focusing on magnesium-rich foods is usually the better approach. Get your nutrients from food first.
makes sense. Whole foods over pills when possible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch to the brain for a moment. Harvard shared a couple of really intriguing findings about dementia and Alzheimer's. Almost unexpected.
They really are fascinating. First, there's growing evidence still being studied, mind you, but evidence suggesting the shingles vaccine might lower dementia risk.
The shingles vaccine. How?
Theories involve maybe reducing overall inflammation, which contributes to cognitive decline, or perhaps preventing the reactivation of the virus itself, which some research links, tentatively, to Alzheimer's processes. It's exciting, but early days still.
Wow. Okay, that's one to watch. What was the other finding?
This one's amazing. Research showing a significantly lower risk of death from Alzheimer's among taxi drivers and ambulance drivers, compared to hundreds of other jobs.
Taxi drivers, why?
The hypothesis centers on cognitive reserve. The constant mental workout, navigating, planning routes, adapting to traffic, that spatial reasoning, it might actually build structural resilience in their brains. Essentially, their job demands give their brains a lifelong, complex workout that seems protective against neurodegeneration's effects.
That is truly fascinating, the power of keeping your brain actively engaged. And these are just glimpses, right? Harvard Health covers so much more.
Oh, absolutely. They delve into, say, celiac disease, clearing up common myths that still persist despite medical progress. Or for parents, clarifying key ADHD symptoms, attention issues, impulsivity, constant motion, and stressing the pediatrician's role in proper diagnosis. It just shows the depth of reliable information available if you want to understand these conditions better.
It really does. We've covered a huge amount today, from the surprisingly powerful effect of daily gratitude, all the way through diet nuances like prebiotic fiber and butter versus oil, the new thinking on exercise metrics.
Then the environmental risks, heat, smoke, floods, and the link to planetary health. Plus crucial safety like swim lessons and understanding things like salmonella.
And then digging into specific conditions like prostate health, questioning supplements like saw palmetto and magnesium, plus that critical thinking about unnecessary care, and those amazing brain health tidbits on shingles, vaccines, and taxi drivers.
Phew, yeah, quite the journey.
It really was. Our hope, as always, is that this gives you some actionable knowledge, maybe some surprising things to think about to empower you on your own health journey.
Exactly. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is just how interconnected all this is. Your diet, your movement, the environment you live in, even maybe your job's mental demands, your vaccinations, it all weaves together. These aren't isolated facts. They form a bigger picture of well-being for you and for the planet. So maybe consider, what's one small, informed change you could make this week, or one question you could ask based on what we talked about. Keep exploring, keep asking questions. Your health journey is ongoing.